Okay, so record. I'm going to open up the okay, we're rolling, we're recording, and so it's all yours. Let's get rid of that picture. Oh, that's going to be oh, camera off. Okay.
All right. Okay, here we go. All right, so can you all see this okay? Shut the system down. No, we're going to, no. Whatever, I'm leaving it. Okay, so here I've inserted a file, okay? This is, I've gone here to insert this tab, okay? And I've gone to charts. Well, now we're in Windows 10, so it looks different than what we just looked at. I'm gonna go to a scatter plot, but what I usually like is smooth line with markers. So I'm gonna do that, okay? Now I have no idea what this data is that it just plotted, so I'm going to right-click and select data. And I get this edit file, right? And main thing I want to do is get rid of that because I have no idea what that was. No idea. So the first thing I want to do is find out what our altitude versus time was. In other words, does that make sense? Does our data talk to us? So what we're going to do is the x-axis on the bottom is going to be what? Time. Y-axis, now that we've got altitude, is going to be what? Altitude in feet. Okay? So I'm going to add, and I'm going to call it altitude in feet. Always label your axes versus time. And time is going to be, we're not going to worry about the units in time because Excel right now uses seconds from the beginning of the year. Okay, so we're just going to call it time, and it'll show us. Okay, because we're just going to go and we're going to pick our range by scrolling up to the first yellow piece because we're going to just take a look at it. Okay, so we'd identified here, and we're going to do altitude, and we're looking at the series, which is well, let me go back for a second. Edit series X value. X value is this here, and you click this button to import it, and then our Y series. Oops. Let's do X. I think you have to do it the whole way from here, and then you scroll all the way down to our next yellow piece, which is here. And again, it's Shift, left click, and now I click this instead of paste, for example, and so the same thing. Now our Y value, which is going to be altitude, I go up here to altitude, and I'm looking for what? Our yellow bar. Why do we go to the yellow? Why am I picking here? Because that's where the beginning of what we did by inspection says is the beginning of the flight. And I'm going to say shift here, and that should be the input. And let's say okay and see what it looks like. 3, 2, 1. And we got to go back and find our plot. Ha! Look at that. We can move these around. You know, you can format the legend, for example, and I usually put it on top just to save space. Notice how we didn't quite do a really good job at defining the beginning of our flight. But you can see, for example, that this indeed, we flew and we got from somewhere about 390 feet to almost 600 feet. So what's that? That's 200 feet above the surface. So we've just created a plot that shows that we indeed got off the ground. Okay? So you want to, if you want to format this axis, we know that we don't need to start at 0 because we certainly, our minimum was 300 feet. So we'll clean that up. And there you go. So we now have data, and the first thing I'm going to do is what? Save. You know what else I'm going to do? Where am I saving this to? Where's the file if I save this?
It's in documents. You can save right there.
Save right there. So guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this as, what do we call it? GI 3500?
Geo 3500.
Geo 3500 5 10 18 profiler. Okay, so now I have the original file. Notice how if I open that file dialog box again, okay, I got 2 files. I got the raw data here. This we know is uncorrupted. I've done the minimal except basically quality check it. And so if I mess up the one that I'm working on, I can always go back and start over again. So I usually work, whether I'm making a PowerPoint or a Word document or Excel spreadsheet, I always create a backup myself. I don't care what my assistant administrator says I do or don't need to do. I have a backup myself, and I've had to use it. And the times I really needed it were the times I haven't done it. Okay, so you now get the data. You saw the beginning of how to plot. I will keep going on how to turn this into temperature versus time. Let's pause it just for a second.
It just be a class at the end.
Yeah, exactly. So how do we stop this thing?
Oh, so yeah, so let's give Mr. Bland a hand for coming down here and helping us with this. Got 1 minute left, folks. Very important. 1 minute.